Greetings one and all, I'm Joshua Ryan Dake, back with another unboxing video, and today we have the all-new for 2026 Apple Studio Display XDR. Now, this came out just a couple months ago, and I've been kind of eyeing it online, and I've been reading some other reviews from other YouTubers and watching other videos, and I had an old MacBook Air, and then I also had the M4 iMac, and I decided to trade those both in and then try something different and use my MacBook Pro with this Studio Display XDR. So just wanted to try something different, especially as I get more creative and work on my YouTube channel and various other things. So I thought it would be best to just try this out and kind of go from there. So with that said, let's get this unboxed. I'll set it up, and then at the end I'll give my final thoughts on it. But let's get this thing unboxed. All right. Open this up, and then what I'll do is I'll put this down just like so. Open up the sides. Oh, right here. Okay, what we'll do is we will turn this guy around. It's a huge box, by the way. And then put this here. And here we have the Studio Display XDR. All right, let's get a good look there. Then we'll open up the sides here. Very similar to the iMac. Let's go ahead and pull the Studio Display XDR out. So we'll put this here just for 1 second. And then let's see what else we have in here. All right. Like some other stuff here. All right. And here we have designed by Apple in California. And it looks like we just got some regular paperwork, Studio Display XDR. Just like so. Then we have the Thunderbolt 5 cable, USB-C, that we can use to connect the Studio Display XDR to my MacBook Pro or the M5 MacBook, or the M5 iPad Pro, I should say. So we can put that off to the side. Is there anything else in here? I don't think so, but yeah, this thing was well protected in transit. So yeah, so let's go ahead and get a look at the Studio Display XDR. All right, so we put the box aside just for a few seconds here. So let's go ahead and get this unboxed some more. And as you can see, this thing is well protected. So let's take it one by one, and then we'll go from here. So we'll just go ahead and pull this off to the side. Wow, that's pretty heavy. That's going to protect that right there, that's for sure. Put these guys off to the side. And what else do we have here? Let's pull this out. So this looks like it's in there. Let's see what we got here. Go ahead and take this off, just like so. Okay. So we'll take that out. Here is the power cord that is actually connected to the display itself, so you can actually take that out. So we'll take the cord out of its protector here, put that off to the side. Then here's that. And then one of the best parts, take a look at the screen, and just like so. And there is that silver color with the Apple logo on the back. So very beautiful. Love the design of this. I had the blue iMac M4 version the past year and a half, I'd say, and kind of disappointed with the color. And going to this 27-inch Studio Display XDR, that just made sense, and it was I think nice for a change, and kind of going from there. So let's get a good look at it. And then this here just you know, that hinge where you can move it up, you can move it down, you know, just it's almost like it's floating almost. It gets that floating feature, kind of like the Magic Keyboard on the iPad Pros. It just seems like it's just floating. So this right here, yeah, that's going to come in handy. And then of course you can also, you know, move it forward, move it back. You can angle it many different ways. So yeah. All right, so let's go here. Push this off to the side. As we can see here, Studio Display XDR. So let's go ahead and pull this off. All right, so I have the all new Apple Studio Display XDR set up. I have my keyboard and mouse connected to it, and I also have the Studio Display XDR connected to my M4 Pro 16-inch MacBook Pro off to the right here on my stand-up desk. And as you can see, the screen is really bright. I got it on at full brightness, and that definitely is amazing, I have to say. All right, and here is a rear view of the Studio Display XDR. And as you can see back here, here are the ports, and I have my MacBook Pro connected to the Thunderbolt 5 port here. And then we have also another Thunderbolt 5 port right here, and then some also USB-C connections. And again, just a beautifully designed product. Very impressed with the quality that Apple put in for the Studio Display XDR. All right, so there it is, the Apple Studio Display XDR. I hope you guys enjoyed the unboxing experience, and so I just wanted to come here at the last and just kind of give some final thoughts and the verdict. So, you know, first of all, you know, I had a MacBook Air to trade in. I had an M4 iMac, which I also traded in on this product, and had some Apple gift cards. So I know, you know, the Studio Display XDR starts at $32.99 US, which is $3,300. It is pricey, it is expensive, but I just wanted to try something different. The iMac is a great product, don't get me wrong, but you know, the 27 inches of the Studio Display XDR, you know, I just get, you know, a bigger screen so I can have more screen real estate, you know, for video editing, for photo editing, you know, things like that. So that was intriguing to me. What was also intriguing is how creators now have a Studio Display or the Studio Display XDR, and how does that affect your creative workflow, your workflow in general, right? So, hey, one thing I like about the Studio Display XDR is that I can use my M5 MacBook Pro. I can plug it in via the Thunderbolt 5, you know, connector here, and then also I can just plug in my MacBook Pro or even the MacBook Neo, right? So, you know, instead of upgrading the iMac every couple of years, I can just, you know, continue to upgrade the MacBook Pro, maybe a little bit more quicker, or, you know, with my iPads, and just kind of go from there. And so I'm curious to see how this is going to affect my workflow in the future, and I think it's going to get better because I can utilize all of my Apple products with the Studio Display XDR. And that's something that really excites me, and I think that's something that a lot of creators out there are now doing, right? They're using that to help their workflows, make them a little bit more efficient, and kind of going from there and making it more convenient, right? And so, you know, get a great stand-up desk and get a great desk experience and have all your products there. And then, hey, all of this plugs into the Studio Display XDR. So even though this was $3,300, you know, with my trade-ins, and then also, you know, some Apple gift cards, I was able to basically split that cost in half. So I was going to get the Studio Display, the regular model that starts at $15.99, but you know what? For the same price, I actually was able to get this and have the most tech in a product, and that's available from Apple right now in a display, right? So that was my reasoning. I probably wouldn't have just bought it outright if it was, you know, the full price and I didn't have the trade-ins and, you know, other stuff. So, you know, the regular Studio Display, it's great too. It has the 12 megapixel camera, the center stage camera, and then also the A19 Pro chip. So, you know, it's no slouch as well. So it can do great things. And I think for, you know, for basic, you know, video editing and photo stuff, and, you know, you're not really going to notice that much of a difference between the Studio Display XDR and the regular Studio Display. But what I will say though is if you do a lot of HDR content like on YouTube, or you know, are into gaming and different things like that, the HDR content on the Studio Display XDR goes up to 2,000 nits. So that's a lot. And you really start to notice that once you start watching those videos. And the Studio Display has the mini LED screen, just like the MacBook Pro does. So that's always nice. And you do kind of notice some of those differences with some of those other features like gaming or HDR content on YouTube, or watching movies in HDR. That's when you really start to notice the difference. But in years past, I had a 5K iMac in 2014, and I believe that's the same panel that is in the regular Studio Display. So it's great, it still works, and you're going to be just fine if you don't care about the HDR content or anything else. One thing to consider too is if you do like the ProMotion display, the 120 hertz refresh rate, the Studio Display XDR has that, and the regular Studio Display does not. So now I know on iOS and iPadOS is a little bit more noticeable when the refresh rate is a little bit smaller, but as far as Mac OS, it's kind of hard to notice the difference, but when you kind of turn it on and off, you kind of notice that, and so it's kind of hard to go back. But if you just refresh rate isn't really big for you guys, definitely go with the regular Studio Display. But if it's something that is, Studio Display XDR is a better option for you and more future-proof in that regard. So really happy with this device, accessory, whatever you want to call it. I didn't really know what to expect. I was sort of new to the whole display side of things, but like I said, I noticed a lot of other creators have a Studio Display, or now the Studio Display XDR. So really happy with it. And like I said, who is this for? This is for creators that do a lot of HDR content for video editing, if they do a lot of photo editing, who want the most tech in a display. And I know there's some other options on there. I know there's OLED panels out there from other manufacturers, but I think OLED is still kind of a question, right, with burn-in, right? And then I know Apple has the tandem OLED display like on the iPad Pro, and that is amazing. But how can they do that at scale on a 27-inch screen, right? That's going to be really pricey. And so I've always been happy with the mini LED panel on the MacBook Pro, and so to have it now in the Studio Display XDR, that's going to be future-proof for many years to come. So I would say if you're a creator, definitely check out the Studio Display XDR. And then also too, I think if if you're a gamer, definitely check it out because it has the 120 hertz refresh rate as well. So I think that about does it. And I think too, if you work a lot and you have a lot of products in the Apple ecosystem and you're kind of on the fence between the iMac and the Studio Display or the Studio Display XDR, give the Studio Display a chance, either the XDR or the regular version. See how that affects your workflow, right? Especially if you have already an M5 iPad Pro and then a MacBook Pro or a MacBook Air, something, and then also to like a Mac Mini, connecting that to the Studio Display XDR is another option. And again, with the Apple ecosystem, everything just works together seamlessly, and that's something that I really would like to call out with the Studio Display XDR, with the Thunderbolt 5 port, and then also the other ports to plug in other stuff or storage, or whatever you have to make your work setup great, right? It is definitely incredible, and I'm really excited to see where this takes me in the future. So yeah, well, that is it. The all new Apple Studio Display XDR. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time. Take care.